They like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game.
Tupac Shakur wasn't just an artist. He was an icon, a voice for the unheard, and a fighter for what he believed in, but also a fighter with those he clashed with. Behind his lyrical genius and magnetic charisma was a man embroiled in conflict, both personal and professional. And today, we will go deep into the 7 most intense rivalries of Tupac's life. The easy guess is number 1, the notorious Big. It began as a brotherhood in 1993. Tupac Shakur, already a star and a beacon for social change, and Biggie Smalls, an emerging but gifted rapper from Brooklyn, connected over their shared love for hip-hop's art form. Tupac's generosity extended beyond music. He opened his home to Biggie, offering mentorship, inspiration, and a glimpse into the industry's unforgiving realities. But that bond would shatter in November 1994, when Tupac was shot 5 times at Quad Studios in New York, the very night he was scheduled to record with Biggie. To Tupac, this wasn't just a coincidence. It felt like an orchestrated betrayal. He was convinced it came from Biggie's camp and didn't hesitate to speak about it publicly.
Niggas me 5 times, I came out of jail and sold 5 million. The niggas came with us, that fat only sold 2 million.
His suspicions were further fueled by the release of Biggie's track, Who Shot Ya?, a song Biggie maintained was not about Tupac, but whose timing and tone stoked Tupac's deepening rage. The bitterness exploded into one of the most vicious diss tracks in hip-hop history, Hit Them Up, a searing and unapologetic lyrical assault aimed at Biggie. This wasn't just a feud, it became a flashpoint in the escalating East Coast versus West Coast war. The animosity extended beyond the music, shaping the public personas of both artists and solidifying Tupac's role as a fiery and fearless provocateur. Their once promising friendship became a tragic symbol of the industry's dangers, a story of loyalty lost, of fame intertwined with fear, and ultimately, a bitter rivalry that ended with both men's lives cut far too short. But the story isn't complete without talking about number 2, Puff Daddy. Sean Puffy Combs wasn't just Biggie's friend and producer. He was, in Tupac's eyes, the architect of betrayal. Their friendship soured after Tupac's shooting at Quad Studios in November 1994 at the recording session he thought was arranged in good faith. But for Tupac, the attack wasn't just about the bullets. It was about the betrayal. During the release of Bad Boy Records' Who Shot Ya track, Tupac didn't just suspect Biggie's connection. He firmly believed that Puffy was the mastermind behind it all. His anger and betrayal were so intense that Tupac didn't just air his grievances in interviews, he channeled his fury into his own diss tracks, calling out Diddy directly. In a moment that combined personal pain with musical retaliation, Tupac reportedly called Diddy after recording his venomous diss, making it clear that his words weren't just for show. He maintained his stance in multiple interviews, stating that it wasn't a random act of violence, but a calculated move, with Puffy orchestrating the events to silence him.
So do you think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows.
The public might have doubted Tupac's public claims that Puffy was behind it, but Pac was sure. Adding to his anger was the cold reception he received from Puffy and Biggie's crew after the shooting, with many avoiding eye contact and offering no support, leaving Tupac to feel isolated and betrayed. Over the years, as interviews and footage resurfaced, Tupac's unwavering belief in Puffy's involvement became a haunting echo. Puffy, who later faced unrelated high-profile legal issues, has always avoided questions about any role in the shooting.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
But the shadow of betrayal remained cast over their relationship. This wasn't just a personal feud. It was a seismic shift in the hip-hop landscape, magnifying the East-West divide, deepening the scars of loyalty lost, and fueling a legend that endures beyond the music. It wasn't just mistrust. It was a clash of egos, ambition, and unspoken rivalries that forever altered the face of music history. And there's more. Number 3 is Mobb Deep. The feud between Tupac and Mobb Deep wasn't just a misunderstanding over lyrics, it was rooted in a chain reaction of public disrespect and pride. It began when Snoop Dogg, a fellow West Coast rapper, appeared in a video kicking down buildings symbolizing New York. Prodigy, a member of Mobb Deep, later explained in interviews that this move felt like a direct slap to New York pride. As one of the first to speak out, Prodigy made it clear that the East Coast wasn't going to stay silent.
He did that video and he started kicking over our building. And the tallest building in Queens at that time was the Citibank building. And that's like the building he kicked over in the beginning of the video. I don't know. All I can say is that I spoke about it. CNN spoke about it. A couple of people had something to say. You know what I'm saying? A couple, but we were like the first ones.
Around the same time, Tupac had just signed to Death Row Records and felt an obligation to defend his new crew. Seeing Prodigy's response as an affront, he decided to go after Mobb Deep with the same energy he had for Biggie.
When that happened, that's right when Pac got signed to Death Row. So I guess he felt like he was the one that had to step up and be like, you know what? I'm gonna be the one that's gonna go at all these niggas and I'm gonna show my loyalty to Death Row since I'm new over here and we gonna make it happen right now. Fuck that, it's war.
This wasn't just about a song, it was about loyalty and respect. Tupac's Hit Them Up didn't just diss Mobb Deep's music, it targeted Prodigy personally, mocking his sickle cell condition in a brutal attack that shocked many. Mobb Deep fired back with Drop a Gem on them, but it was pulled from the airwaves following Tupac's death. In hindsight, the feud wasn't just about a video or a lyric, it was a tangled web of pride, loyalty, and territory. Tupac's reaction showed his fierce determination to protect his name, while Mobb Deep's response highlighted the complicated balancing act of defending their reputation without escalating a conflict that was already spiraling. This feud became a defining moment in hip-hop's volatile history. Number 4 is Nas. Nas and Tupac's clash was as lyrical as it was personal. The tension sparked when Tupac interpreted Nas's song The Message as a direct attack on him, with lines like, "Fake thugs, no love, you get the slug," hitting too close to home. Feeling disrespected, Tupac fired back in Against All Odds, accusing Nas of copying his style and living in a fantasy world. Tupac believed Nas was not just a rival, but someone who borrowed from his blueprint while questioning his street credibility. But behind the scenes, the feud wasn't as deep as fans believed. They met face to face in Central Park, where they talked and realized much of the drama was built on misunderstandings. They planned to see each other again to talk, maybe about a possible music collaboration, a move that could have changed the course of hip-hop history. Sadly, Tupac's untimely death ended that possibility, leaving fans to wonder about the music and unity that could have been. Nas later revealed in interviews that they had squashed their beef and were ready to move forward.
So what happened was we went to him and stepped to him, and the brother was like, "Nah, I'm from New York, man. Me and you, Nas, we like this. Don't never let nothing come between us." And he told me that I'm gonna hear a lot of things that he said about me, and he's gonna hear a lot of things that I said about him, but put it past us, and we powerful people, and let's move ahead. And we shook hands and said we'll talk on a later note. 3 days later, he was gone, and we never got a chance to really talk.
This wasn't just a feud over lyrics. It was a story about pride, miscommunication, and the lost chance for two of the genre's greatest voices to unite. The clash between Nas and Tupac showed how easily words could create division, but also how reconciliation was always possible, even in the competitive world of rap. Let's talk about number 5, Jay-Z.
So that story really is true. Tupac, he really had an issue with Jay-Z. He really didn't like him then.
Not at all.
Do you think it's because he was cool with Biggie, his affiliation with Biggie?
I don't know why he wasn't doing it, bro, but I know he wasn't letting him do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel.
The feud between Tupac and Jay-Z wasn't as public as others, but its roots were tangled in loyalty, pride, and fear. Many believed Tupac's anger towards Jay stemmed from Jay-Z's close friendship with Biggie. When Gene Deal was asked if that was the reason, he admitted he didn't know, but he revealed something even more telling. Jay-Z was in Las Vegas, scheduled to perform, but Tupac was there too, and he wasn't going to let it happen. Tupac and his crew found out where Jay was staying and made it clear they weren't going to let him leave the hotel. Jay was stuck, scared to come out, until Dame Dash called some people, and Suge Knight stepped in to calm things down. Suge called Tupac off, letting Jay go ahead with the performance.
Jay was going to try to perform in Vegas. But Pac was in Vegas, and him and his dudes now. And they wasn't gonna let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at. And Jay wasn't gonna come out the hotel. He was gonna miss that performance or whatever like that. But then Dame Dash called some people and they got back to Chaz and they made some phone calls. And Suge Knight had said, yo, that ain't me, bro. That's Pac with his wild self, man. I'm gonna call him off, Jay.
This incident revealed a hidden layer of tension. Tupac didn't just see Jay as a rival. He saw him as someone stepping into enemy territory, as an ally of Biggie, as part of a world Tupac no longer trusted. Jay's silence on the feud only added to its mystique, but those who were there knew the stakes. It wasn't just a feud of words. It was a dangerous, high-stakes game of loyalty, survival, and pride. Jay's fear and Tupac's power in that moment defined a tension-filled chapter in hip-hop history, revealing how deep Tupac's mistrust ran and how far he was willing to go to stand his ground. Number 6 is Chino XL. Chino XL was an up-and-coming lyricist, making waves in the underground hip-hop scene when he made a move that caught Tupac's attention. In his track, Riot, Chino referenced Tupac's prison ordeal with a line that many saw as crossing a line. To Tupac, it wasn't just a clever lyric. It was a public insult that couldn't be ignored, fueled by anger and a sense of betrayal. For that reason, Tupac didn't forget to mention him in his brutal diss track.
Chino XL, fuck you too. All you motherfuckers, fuck you too.
Chino later admitted in interviews that he was shocked by the ferocity of Tupac's response, claiming he hadn't intended the line as a direct diss. But Tupac's world operated on a strict code of respect, and any perceived slight was enough to spark a war. The clash with Chino XL, though brief, revealed just how deeply Tupac valued loyalty and how fiercely he would defend his name and reputation. It was more than just music. It was about survival, pride, and the unspoken rules of a culture where one's honor was everything. Chino's surprise at the backlash only highlighted how different their perspectives were on the weight of words and actions in hip-hop. This feud wasn't the biggest or the loudest, but it showcased the explosive power of words and the combustible nature of an industry built on pride, perception, and the relentless pursuit of respect. The funny thing is, Tupac didn't only fight with rivals outside his circle, he also clashed with those inside his own label. In a world where loyalty was everything, even his own label mates weren't exempt from his wrath. This brings us to number 7. Dr. Dre, once united under Death Row Records, Tupac and Dr. Dre's relationship crumbled amid power struggles, creative differences, and a growing sense of betrayal. Tupac's track, Toss It Up, wasn't just a song, it was a blistering indictment. Some accounts suggest Tupac believed Dre had distanced himself during Snoop Dogg's legal troubles and took credit for work he didn't fully contribute to, further deepening the rift. For Tupac, loyalty was everything. Dre's exit wasn't just a business decision, it was personal. It highlighted a fracture in a powerful alliance that had once symbolized West Coast dominance. This wasn't just about music. It was about pride, integrity, and the shifting dynamics of a cutthroat industry. As Tupac's anger spilled into his music, and Dre focused on carving his own path, their split became a symbol of hip-hop's volatile landscape, one where friendships turned into rivalries, and loyalty was often the first casualty. This feud wasn't just a chapter in Tupac's story, it was a defining moment in a saga of trust, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of legacy. A man who loved as fiercely as he fought, and though the world lost him too soon, his voice, his battles, and his legacy continue to echo through generations. But let me ask you, from Biggie to Dre, which of these feuds do you think defined Tupac the most? Drop your thoughts below and don't go anywhere, because the next story is something you don't want to miss. We'll meet in the next video.